There's no denying that the company behind the stock for New Holdings is an amazing one, with a promoter score of 80 something compared to other Brazilian banks down in the 50s. But is the company fairly valued? And what about the risks? Well, we will take a closer look at this company. It's been very difficult to judge, but let's go through it. I saw a comment, so of course I gotta take a look at the suggestion. As you can see, in terms of revenue growth, it's been amazing. However, in terms of total numbers, we can see about 1.2 billion here for the quarter. And if we compare that to, for example, Banco Brazil, we can see that this company has a lot more in terms of revenue here, 26 billion, although a slight decline for the latest quarter compared to the steep increase of this newcomer, this challenger. Although if we see other quarters, this bank seems to grow as well. So the credit market, the loan market, it's a growing market in Brazil. And I talk from experience, from having been there. There's payment plans for a lot of everyday goods. You can buy a t-shirt in installments, for example. And as a Westerner, it's quite difficult to understand that part of the culture. But in Brazil, when you get 18, you basically apply for a credit card, you start spending, and you spend your last dineros on a bottle at the club and then don't think about tomorrow. And you know, it's a very different culture, very live in the now culture. And we can see that the banks here, the financial services, they are making a lot of profits in Brazil. Even this New Holdings here, representing Nubank, they're profitable here in terms of a per share basis. They were not profitable back in 2022, and if we take a look at share price, we can see that this company was IPO'd at about this almost 60 billion valuation, and then it tanked on some unprofitability here in the past, and now with profitability they're back at almost IPO level, although with a lot better financials, a lot better results. I took a look at some interesting articles as well here regarding the valuation in terms of fundraising and what some other investors were able to buy them at. For example, here we can see a seed round and the Series G, the latest one, when Berkshire, Warren Buffett, bought some 500 million American dollars here. We can see that the valuation of this company back then was about 30 billion, and this article did not believe the company would IPO in 2021, although as we can see from the share price, indeed they IPO'd late 2021 here, and then the valuation was almost double that of the Series G. So it's quite expensively valued compared to that, almost double from the IPO. So it's quite understandable that they had a drop off when results did not come, and now they have regained that ground years later. It's quite interesting also to look at the presentation and the other side, the financial report, although both are very lengthy. We see this from Western banks. Also, I had to compare them with Citigroup, although Citigroup's financial presentation was even more complex. But it's very interesting to take a look at how things are valued. For example, we see in terms of on the balance sheet here for a bank, New Holdings, we can see that the financial assets at amortized cost is, of course, the credit card receivables. So people who have outstanding credit card debts, loans to consumers, compulsory deposits at central banks. So basically some insurance there. We can see that this totals 24 billion. This is in thousands of dollars. And if we take a look at the liability side, we can see that deposits is the liability. So customers who have put money on the bank. And in terms of deposits compared to outstanding loans, they have a nice capitalization ratio. It's in line with other Western banks as well. It's a bit more actually for this Brazilian bank. I did a comparison, but that's just a given the higher risk in that market as well. But it's very difficult to make sense of the different parts in the financial presentation in this case. And that's one reason why I won't invest in this company, although I think that the business model makes perfect sense. It's a good climate for having financial services, given how widely adopted it is by the population and how prevalent credit card debt is. We can see one article here regarding the state of the Brazilian economy and the usage of credit cards, although it's the Washington Post, so we have to take it with a truckload of salt. It's very left-leaning, and they seem to really hammer down on this new crop of Silicon Valley-backed digital banks, claiming that they really are predatory to Brazil's poor. Although if we actually take a look and compare the rates of Nubank, which I did, we can see that the general interest on credit card, it's quite a lot lower than, for example, Banco do Brasil. So classic incumbent strategy, higher interest rate on deposits and a bit cheaper credit card loans as well to take profits, because the profit margin is so huge for the players that are in Brazil. The four large ones, Itco, Banco do Brasil, Santander, and one more are the major players in that economy. So in this case, new holdings, Nubank, they can offer more competitive rates and still be profitable. As you saw, there's just such a massive lack of competition, and I think that funding a up-and-coming player like Nubank in this case is very beneficial to the economy as well, although we can see some clear risk here. I remember in a cigar store in Brazil, I was talking to some gentlemen about the political situation in that country. Of course, no opinions of my own, since I don't really knew anything about it from before, but listening in on what those people said. So Lula, the current president, he made a big promise to negotiate around the debt situation with a lot of Brazilians in debt. So there's this potential risk from that, with some heavy-handed regulations on financial institutions in Brazil that could potentially harm the profit margins of the big banks and the incumbent financial services in this case, in my opinion. Although I would not be too worried about it, it's a risk to be aware of, but it seems that Lula in this case has his hands full taking care of the political opposition and journalists in this case. So there's not a big worry in this case, in my opinion. Although in terms of valuation, comparing here, 56 billion in valuation. Remember, about 1 billion for the latest quarter in revenue. And then we compare that to Banco do Brasil here, the large player. We can see that they have about, let's say, 150. So 3 times more in terms of market cap, with the ratio of revenue to market cap being way larger in this case. And we also see that price to earnings is a lot lower, very much in line with banks having a low PE number. Although if we take a look at the valuation here for new holding, they're really valued as if they were not a bank but more of a fintech growth company, more in line with, for example, the Western version of this would be SoFi. So quite the high valuation, and I've seen that they have a lot of services. They have the insurance and they have a lot of other ones, but I mean, banking is the big part of the business, as we saw in the balance sheet, taking a look at deposits and outstanding credit. And that's why this valuation don't really make sense to me. Sure, they're growing extremely fast, but compared to other players in the economy and the risk in this case, I think that this stock is quite overvalued. It's a bit risky in my opinion, and if I better were to understand the business model and the financial statement of this company, which was quite long, a lot of numbers, it required a lot of thinking on my end to understand sort of the capitalization of the company, to see that it was well capitalized compared to, for example, the Western Bank, and then trying to look at other important metrics. It requires a lot of calculations in this case, and it's not an easy stock to understand, and for that reason I will just pause on it. It could potentially be a huge home run given how well liked the business is by Brazilians and how highly it's rated and how quickly it's growing is just a result of this word of mouth type of marketing. They have a cheap acquisition cost as well. I think it was $7 or $9 per customer. I saw it in a slide where they showed that number together with the cost to service the customer. It was $0.9 a month in that case, that I'm 100% certain of, but a very difficult stock to value. So that's why I'm super curious about your opinion regarding this company. Let me know in the comment section below. You think that this company indeed should be valued as a fintech fast growing company, or is it super overvalued and it should be looked at more as a bank and the price to earnings ratio be in line with Banco Brazil, for example. Alright, that's been it for this video, and as always, I hope you guys make a ton of money, whatever investments you decide to make. Take care now, bye bye.